Okay. Can someone share the quiz 2 QP1 link? Actually, I'm not able to find out the question paper link. Okay, yes, I got it. This QP1. So can you please confirm the second set? It says QP1. Is it E, F, G, or H? Any idea about the second set? Is it E, F, G, H? I'll just probably open the same one that I have opened for quiz 2. Sorry, quiz 1. All right, I have opened both of these QPs, so maybe we can just get started. So I was not sharing my screen. So I hope my screen is now visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll just read those from the chat. So this is for quiz 1, or it is quiz 2. So the first question that we are going to discuss is 158. Six, 2. Okay, 158 is here. So I hope this question is properly visible to everyone. All right, so what is being asked here is consider the following view application in markup and JavaScript. And what will be rendered on the browser screen, ignore the formatting and the styling. Okay, so this is the HTML which says that the text that will be shown is main app data, and there is one view component that will get rendered as well along with this text, that is some component, and inside that some component you are passing some by default slot data. So whatever data that you are passing within these within the starting and the closing tag, that can be used inside the view component if you use the slot element, if you use the slot tag within the implement definition or the implement template definition. So if you will see the definition of this component sum, how is it defined? So you will see that the template says that there is one container element that which is also a div, and inside the div, the very first thing that it says is slot. So wherever you will write slot, what will it do is it is going to render the component. It is going to render the content that was passed between the starting and the closing tag. So the content that was passed here between the starting and the closing tag was slot data. So this slot element or this slot tag would be replaced with what? This would be replaced with slot data. And this component data is a static thing, so this will be rendered as it is. So finally, the output is going to be main app data. Firstly, slot has come, so slot data would be shown. After that, component data would be shown. So main app data, slot data, and component data. Main app data, slot data, component data. Yeah, that's what the answer is. If this slot would have been written after this H1 heading, then the sequence of the last two statements would have changed. Is that okay?
Sir, can you repeat that?
Is that okay?
Why component data will be first?
No, I cannot hear you. Your voice is so faint.
Okay. No, is it fine now? Hello?
It's still quite low for me. Is it a problem with only me or everyone else is facing the same issue?
Sir, is it better now?
Okay, all right, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sir, can you repeat that why the component data will be first and then slot data?
See, you just see the sequence of the tags that are placed inside this component definition. Firstly, you were saying that the slot element should get rendered. Now, what does this slot mean? Slot means whatever you pass between the starting and closing tag. So if you will write this slot after this H1 heading, then of course component data would be shown first and then the slot data would be shown. But right now this slot comes before H1. So the data that is passed here will be shown before component data. One thing is sure that main app data is going to be displayed first.
Okay, yes, got it.
So here the sequence matters. So is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Bimlesh, is that okay? Not sure if he's still here. Anyways, we'll proceed to the next question then. So the next question was 163. 61, 62, 63. So consider the following application. What will be the color of the text welcome to the Mat2 quiz after clicking the button danger 6 times for a normal browser which shows black colored text on a white background? So what is here? There is a div which is showing this text called welcome to Mat2 quiz. There is a class that is associated with this div element. So we are basically doing class binding, and we are saying if the value of this its danger attribute or is danger variable would be true, then this danger class would be applied, else it will not. So there is this text, and we have this button here, and clicking on it is going to cause certain actions. So let's see what those actions are. So whenever you click on this button, it triggers this change style method, and what this change style method does is it just inverts the value. It is a Boolean value, and it just inverts to the value that it was not before. So since you are clicking on it 6 times, the very first time the value is going to be false. The first time you click on it, it would become true. Second time it would again become false. Third time true. Fourth time it would again become false. Fifth time it will become true, and for the 6th time it will again become false. If it is becoming false, that means the value of this is danger is going to be false. That means that class danger won't be applied to it. In that case, what are we? The color of the text and the color. So the color is going to be black in that case because this class won't be applied. So black would be the answer. Yeah, it is. I did not get it if there was any issue with this question. This seems to be an easy one. Yeah, is that okay? Because what we are saying is that the value of is danger is false. So that's why this class won't be applied to it. And if the class won't be applied, the default color of the text color would be shown, and that is going to be black, as the question itself says in case of normal browser. So in normal browsers, of course, the text color is going to be black and the background color is going to be white. Yes, Bhavya?
Sir, if it would have been 5 times, then it would have been red, correct?
If it would have been 5 times, so his danger value would be true and danger. Yes, it would be right.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right. So I'm assuming that this question is clear. So I shall move to the next question. It is 166. Okay, so consider the following JavaScript program. What will be the output of the above program after 10 seconds? So what is happening here is variable I equals to 1. Okay. 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 All right. That's a good question. Would anybody of you like to answer this question? Anyone would like to volunteer for answering this question? That's a good question. If you understand this question, if you are able to predict the correct output, that means you can say that you have understood the scoping rules for JavaScript language.
So actually here, what I understand is that in the for loop, I is taking values 1, 2, 3 to remain in the for loop condition. But after 3, again it is getting incremented once more, and after that the condition becomes false, but the I value remains at 4.
Okay, it is something similar. So see, what happens is, okay, the very first thing that you need to keep in your mind is that the JavaScript is not going to wait, right? It is going to just execute its code very fast. Okay, it's not going to wait for anything. So when this loops get started, or when the control gets inside this loop for the first time, what happens is it creates a set timeout function with a timeout of 1 into 1000. That means 1000 milliseconds. That means 1 second. So what will it do is it will simply push this set timeout call into the web API. Right? That will go out of this call stack, and that would just go into the web API component. Similarly, when the second time the control will get inside this loop, it is again going to push one set timeout block into the web API, this time with a timeout of 2 seconds. Just give me a minute, please. Yeah, sorry, I'm back. Okay. So what we were discussing here is, yeah, so what I was saying is that the 3 set timeout blocks are going to be pushed to the web API in a very quick time. That means the very first set block time will go with a timeout of 1 second, but JavaScript will not even take 1 second to put the 3 of those blocks to the web API component. So when those 3 set timeout blocks have been pushed to the web API, what do you think what the value of I variable would be? Initially I was 1, second time it became 2, third time it became 3, but when the control would have gone out of this for loop and the value of I would have been incremented to 4, then the condition would have become false, and in that case, it would not have gotten into the for loop scope once again. So in that case, the value of I has already been changed to what? 4. Now, when the first timeout will get over, so let's say this 1 second get over. So what is going to happen is it is going to print the current value of I. And what is the current value of I? It is 4 because it has already been changed to 4. The next timeout is going to be of 2 seconds. So when it will get over, the value of I has not changed since then. So in that case, it would again be 4. The next timeout is going to be 3 seconds. Even for that as well, the value that will be shown on the console is going to be 4 because the value has not changed after it became 4. So that's why it is going to show 4 twice on the console. Kindly note that we were using this var keyword here in order to create this variable. If we would have used let variable instead of var, so what would have happened here is, I hope you are aware that if we use let here, what it is going to do is it is going to create different scopes for each iteration of this loop. So since for the first iteration, a new scope will be created for this variable, and the variable, this I is going to refer to that value only, right? And when we will, then the condition would be, when the value would be incremented and the condition would be checked, and control will get into this definition for the second time. This time, it is a different variable. The I that was sent in the first set timeout block is different. And the second I, which is coming for the second time iteration, is basically different. So if this is let, it is going to print 1, 2, 3 in that case. But since it is var right now, they all means all of these I's are going to refer to the same value, that is going to be 4. Are you able to get it?
So is it so that in the case of late, the same variable name I is holding different values?
No. It is basically creating a copy of those values. It is creating a copy of those values. See, for each iteration, a different scope is going to be generated. A different scope.
Correct.
So yeah,
but
you
then,
can even say that that variable is basically different for each of those scopes. You can say that as well.
yeah, but I mean, the variable name will remain same across the
Variable name
scope.
will remain same. Yes. Of course, it is going to be I.
Correct. So the same variable name is holding different values in different perspectives, if I can say.
Yeah, of course. With the help of let and const, you can do that, na?
Correct.
Because you have scope-based. Both of these type of keywords have scope-based. What I say. So that means whenever you have a set of parentheses or a set of those curly braces,
Correct.
you can have
Correct.
different
Correct.
values defined for each of these.
Yes.
So for var, if that's the var, it is going to be 4 because the value would have become 4 by then. And if it is let or const, well, you cannot. Well, you can do even const. That's fine. Okay, no, you cannot do const because it will be incremented here. So yeah, if it is let, then it is going to be 2.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So in this case, in the 4-second interval, 3, 4 will be printed. Is it?
In the which interval?
In 4-second interval, 3, 4 will be printed, right?
3, 4 will be correct. Yes. See how many times this loop is going to iterate? 3 times. Because it will start with 1 and it will end at 3. So that means there are 3 console.log that are going to execute it.
Yes.
In that case, 4 will be printed on the console twice, 3 times. And yeah, that's
and each will be after 4 seconds.
No, that won't be the case. The very first value would be printed after 1 second. Second value would be after 2 seconds. Third value would be after 3 seconds.
Okay. Like the console.log I, that I will take the value 4, but I into 1000 that will take each like loop value.
Yes, correct.
So can you explain it again that why is it so?
See, I have already explained that what is going to happen is each time, okay, for in case of where or in case of let.
In case of where?
So when the value, when the keyword used here is where, what will happen is for each iteration, whenever the control gets inside this loop, this set timeout is going to be pushed to what? It is going to be pushed to web API, and this value of I is going to be dissolved that time itself. So what is the current value of I when it is getting pushed to the web API? It is 1. So 1 into 1000, that means this statement is to be executed after waiting for 1000 milliseconds. Similarly, when the second iteration occurs, the current value of I would be 2 in that case, and a timeout of 2 would be associated with this function. Similarly, for the third iteration, a timeout of 3 seconds would be associated with this function. Are you getting
Okay, sir.
it?
So yes, sir. So the console.log I that I will take the value of I from the heap, and in the
It is
heap
going to take
only.
the value of I that is the current value of I at that moment when this is getting executed.
Okay, okay. And in case of late, each I will be different variable.
Correct.
Okay, okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
So as it is a where for will be independent of the set timeout.
Sorry, I did not get it.
As it is a where declared,
Hmm.
where I is equal to 1.
Hmm.
So for will execute independent of the set timeout. It will just finish 1, 2, 3.
Yes, correct.
Correct?
Yes.
And in case
JavaScript
of
is not
let,
going to be.
yeah, and in case of let, it is going to now get dependent upon that set timeout because of block scope. Is it?
No. See, even if it is
In case of
let, what it is going
let
to do
I,
is
um,
it is simply going to push it to the web API in the same time that it took for where. But what is happening in case of let is the value that the value or the reference that this I is going to refer is going to be different.
okay.
So what is mattering here is the value of this I or the reference of this I. What this I is referring to is the question.
Mhm.
There should be no question on this value, I multiply by 1000, because this is going to be dissolved whenever it is going to be pushed to web API. And when it is getting pushed to web API, the value of current I or the current value of I is going to matter in order to find out this value, this result.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So can we hypothetically say that if suppose timeout is instead of 1000 it's 1 millisecond, and the for loop is iterating say up to I equal to say 1 lakh or 10,000 whatever a big number, then the console.log I could be say what will the output of ever program after say 2 seconds or 5 seconds whatever. So could
So
in
again,
that case
means you can try out this experiment, but the value of I is going to be
same
the number
only, or
of
it
times
could be
that
different?
iteration would have happened by that time.
No, but then will that, because it is because of the timeout situation being 1 millisecond, can it be like I will be giving different outputs at different iterations, or it will be same value?
If the value of I, or okay, let's say after waiting for 1 second, if the value of I is something, and
One
after
mil-
waiting for 2 seconds, if the value of I is something different, yes, then the output will differ.
Okay, so basic. Okay, understood, sir. It's basically on the clock speed and everything.
Yes. So it matters what the current value of I is. That is what is mattering here.
Got it, sir.
So in one of the set, I guess this was given as where, and in the other set, this was given as let. So for where, it's going to be 444. In case of let, it is going to be 123. All right. Shall we move to the next question?
Yes, sir.
So the next question is, what was it? 166. The next question is 169. Okay, so If the user clicks on the button new person 7 times, what will be the background color of the div with class? New person 7 times. New person. So here is the new person, and we need to predict the background color of div with class light. That means this one. Okay. So if the user is clicking on this button 7 times, so it is just going to make an increment of 1 in the value of people count. So people count, the value is 0. If you are clicking on it 7 times, so the first time it would be 1, second time it would be 2, third time it would be 3, and similarly for 7 times it would be 7. So since we have applied a watcher on this people count value, this new value and old value are the two parameters this function is getting here. New value is 7, the old value would be 6. So 7 is greater than 6. That condition is true, but we have one more condition to be evaluated here. So new value should be greater than 2. Yes, it is, because 7 is greater than 2. Since this entire expression has been evaluated to true, this statement would be executed. And what will it do is, it will assign the value of isRead attribute, which was initialized with false, to true. So isRead has become true. And if you will see here, so isRead has become true. That means red light is the class that would be applied here. So this div element, which is having class as light itself. So red hyphen light is this. So the background color is going to be red. Background color is going to be red. Yeah. So any issues in this question?
No,
Clear.
sir.
Are there any issues?
No, sir. It's clear.
All right. So I guess these. Okay, I guess so. You had only these many questions for quiz 1. So shall we move to the quiz 2 exam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Bimlesh, I was not sure which question paper you were referring to. So I have taken QPE.
QPE
Did not
1.
mention about.
QPE 1.
Yeah, you did not mention it in the chat, so I have taken it even. Okay, all right. So 146 is the first question. Okay, 146 is this. The following view application hosts this. So say you open the file index.html in the browser and enter the text IATM in the text box shown after removing the existing text from the input box, and click on the button with the text "Click me." After that, you refresh the page twice. What will be the text shown in the input text box and the value of refreshes placeholder respectively. So you are entering IATM, you are clicking on this button and you are refreshing twice. So when the page will be rendered for the first time, the value of refreshes is going to be 0. And the text that would be shown in this text box is going to be data. So what is data? It's going to be an empty thing. Is there any mount hook? Okay, there is a mounted hook here. So what is happening is it is checking if session.data is available. If not, it is doing this.data equals to. Okay, well, we don't need to worry about that because we are saying that we are removing existing text if any, and we are typing the new text that is IATM. So what you do is you type IATM here. Now what happens after typing IATM is this data gets changed to what? IATM. After that, you click on this button that is click me here, and this function would be triggered in that case. So that is do something. To do something, what will it do is it will check if this dot refreshes. So what is the current value of this dot refreshes? It is 0. Is NaN. So can someone tell me what does this function do? Is NaN?
It checks if it is not a number.
Okay, so what do you think about the condition? Should it be true this time or not?
No, it is set to 0, so it should be false.
Okay, so what you're saying is it does not matter. Because the previous value is 0, or even if the condition is satisfied, it is going to become 0. Yeah, that is a correct assumption as well. But anyways, what does this is then function do?
I mean, if there's no value available for refreshes,
Sorry, I am not getting it. No value available for.
I mean, if no numerical value is available for refreshes, I mean, either
Okay.
the
Well, as someone has already pointed out that isNaN is basically a function that is used to check if a value is NaN or not. So this function is going to return true in case the value is NaN. Otherwise, it is going to return false. Okay. So this dot refreshes, the current value is 0. So do you think the 0 is NaN value?
no, sir.
No, it's not.
No,
so that
sir.
means this condition won't be true. So this statement won't be executed. So we'll move to the next thing. What is it? This dot data dot length modulo division 2. So what is the length of our data? We are typing IITM. So the length is 4. So 4 modulo division 2 is what?
0.
0.
So this condition will also become false. That means the else part would be executed. So what will happen is session storage dot data, and what we are doing is this dot data. This dot data is IITM, and what you are adding is you are adding suffix. That means after that at the end. So the value of data, or basically you are basically trying to create a key value pair in the session storage, which says that the value of that key is going to be data that is IITM. So IITM suffix. And after that, what you do is session storage dot refreshes equals to this dot refreshes multiplied by 2 minus 1. That means this dot refreshes is 0. 0 multiplied by 2, it's 0 itself. And 0 minus 1 is minus 1. So that you are basically saving two key value pairs in the session storage. One with key data. The data that it would be holding is IITM suffix, and refreshes, which will be holding a value minus 1. Now, after writing this, what you do is you refresh the page twice. Now, when you refresh this page, what will happen is this mounted hook will get triggered. So what will it check is it will check if session storage.data is available. So we already have saved something in the data. So that means this condition would become true. So what will it do is it is going to fetch the data from session storage, and it is going to assign it to what? To this view instance data variable. So how will it fetch it, and what will be the actual value that will be assigned? So it is so basically what you are doing is you are prepending suffix to whatever the value that is stored in the session storage. So the value that was stored was IITM suffix, and this time the value that you are fetching is suffix plus IITM suffix. So finally, the value has become suffix IITM suffix. So there is a word called IITM, and both of on the left hand side as well as on the right hand side, you are adding a string name suffix. Similarly, you are fetching the refreshes value. What you are doing is your session storage dot refreshes. I guess it was stored at -1. So -1 multiply. Modulo division 3 and -1. So can someone tell me what will happen with the value this dot refreshes?
Minus
The value
2.
of
Modulo 3 will give -1,
correct.
and again it will become -2.
Correct. So finally, the data and the refreshes value have now become suffix IITM suffix, and refreshes has become -2. So this is what is going to be shown. But I guess we were about to refresh it twice. Yes, so we are refreshing it twice. Now, once it happens, we are not doing anything. We are simply refreshing it. So again, this mounted hook will get triggered. We will see. Okay. So after doing all of this is whatever the updated values of these two variables, data and refreshes were, we are again saving them to the data storage, session storage. That means we are updating the previous key value pairs to the new values. The new value of data is suffix IITM suffix. The refreshes is -2. So again, we refresh this page. This function mounted hook gets triggered. Again, we check that session storage.data, does it have anything? Yes, it does. So what it is going to do is, again, it is going to load the data and prepend the data with suffix. So now the value of data variable has become suffix, IITM suffix. There are two suffix, then IITM, and then one more suffix. Similarly, for refreshes, the value that would be fetched here is going to be -2. So -2 modulo division 3, it is again going to be -2 and -1. So that means this time it is going to become -3. So after refreshing twice, the value of data, or that would be shown in place of this text input box, is suffix, IITM suffix. And in case of number of refreshes, the value is going to be -3. So suffix, IITM suffix, and it is -3. So is this okay?
Yes, sir.
So shall we move to the next question if everyone is okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next question is 152. All right. Okay. So see, what is happening here is we are creating an async function and we are simply calling this function. But how this function works is what you need to understand. So what we are basically doing is, since this is an async function, that means we can use await keyword inside that function definition. So what we do is we create a promise and then we use await with it. That means the next line in this function definition is not going to be executed until and unless the first line has finished its execution. So the second line has to wait for the first line to finish its execution. So what is happening here is, in this promise, since it is just accepting one argument, that means the function or this promise can only resolve. So what it is doing is it is resolving with the value 2 and operator 4. So does anyone know that how this AND operator works? This is logical AND.
If there are two integers, like if there are two numbers, then the last number will be taken as the value.
I just want to correct this. So basically, whenever we talk about logical operators, we generally talk about Boolean values, right? Whether a value is true or false. So what it does is it basically checks that whatever values that are provided to it on the left and on the right side of operand, are those values true or false? In case any one of those values is false, what it is going to do is it is going to return the very first false value. For example, in case of current expression, there is no false value as such. So what will it do is it is going to return the last true value. If it does not find any false value, what will it do is it is going to return the last true value. So as you know that if we talk about numbers, anything other than 0 is going to be considered as true. So 2 is also true, 4 is also true. So in that case, there is no false value. So 4 is going to be returned as the output of this expression. R2 logical AND 4. So 4 is going to be returned, and this 4 value is going to be given to or assigned to this a variable, and this value is going to be used afterwards, I guess. Again, we move to the execution of the second line, that is this let b equals to await new promise. This is again doing something. Resolve and reject handlers or callbacks. So what it does is it checks if the value of a is less than equals to 2. So what do you think? The value of a is what? It is 4. So do you think 4 is less than equals to 2?
No, sir.
No, it's
It will
not.
be 2 else.
So that means this condition will become false and the control will go to the else part of it. In else part, what you are doing is you are rejecting this promise with the value 5 and 4. Again, there are two values and none of those values are false. Both of these values are going to be treated as true because they are non-zero values. So what this AND operator will do is it is going to return the last true value. And what is last true value? It is the value of a, which was 4 or which is 4. So b is also going to get the value 4. And at the end, what you do is you simply log both of those values. So 4 and 4 is what's going to be shown. Yeah, 4 is the actual output.
2 double and 0, what it will give? If
2
0 is
double
after
AND,
that logical AND, yes.
it will be 0.
Okay. Any one false, I mean, zero number will give the output zero only.
See, just keep this rule in mind that a logical AND operator is going to return the first false value that it encounters, the very first value that it encounters. If it does not find any false value, it is going to return the last true value. Okay. If there is any false value in the entire expression, of course, that is going to be
Exactly. I
returned.
mean, there can only be one false value. So whatever, if even if it is zero, double and zero, it will give zero only.
Yeah, correct. But you can also create a chain of it, right? You can have multiple logical AND operators in a single expression if you want.
Okay, sir.
Just a minute. Okay, so what we were discussing, we were discussing about this question. All right, so is this understood to everyone? How this AND operator is working, logical AND?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's move to the next question. So it is 152. The next question is 154. I think. Okay, this is a similar kind of question. All right, we can just take it up. Say you open the file index.html in the browser and enter the text nptel in the text box shown after removing the existing text any. After that, you refresh the page twice, but will the text shown in the input text box and the value refreshes placeholder. So you are entering the text nptel and you are refreshing it twice. So when you enter nptel here, do something. You are not clicking on this button, right? So you are not clicking on that button. Okay, all right. So let's see what is going to happen. You wrote nptel here, so data was updated with the value nptel, but nothing is going to happen because we are not clicking on that button, which is causing this do something to be triggered. That is not happening here. We are simply refreshing it. So the first time we refresh it, what is going to happen is it is going to check that if there is something in the data or if there is something in the session storage which has a key named data. So do you think this condition is going to become true for the first time?
No, sir.
No, it's
No.
not, because there is no key present with name data as of now. So else part is going to be executed. What is going to happen in else part is it fetches data. Well, no data is present, but again, it is trying to fetch the data. So can someone tell me what this expression is going to return? Session storage dot data when there is no data.
It will be
Undefined.
null.
It will return undefined. So the value of this data would become undefined prefix. Right? It will become undefined prefix. And similarly, what is going to happen with this dot refreshes is, well, there is nothing basically in case of refreshes in the session storage. So what it is going to return is undefined. And when you try to perform any mathematical operations on a NaN value, what it does is it basically just returns you NaN, right? So the value of refreshes become NaN. The value of data becomes undefined prefix. Now, after this has executed, these two lines would be executed. So what they basically do is they just update the current value of data and refreshes to the to the session storage. So the data will have undefined prefix and NaN. Okay, you refresh it second time. This time you will find that yes, data exists in the session storage. So what will you do is you will fetch that data. But again, before assigning it to your data variable, you are going to add a suffix in front of it. So now the value of data becomes suffix undefined prefix, and the value of refreshes become, well, it is holding nan. You try to convert it. It is again going to become nan. So refreshes is again nan, but data will become suffix undefined prefix. You refresh it for the third time. Again, this condition would become true. So this dot data would become. So this time there are going to be two suffix, one nptel, sorry, no nptel, one undefined and one prefix. So suffix, undefined prefix is going to be the value for data, and refreshes it is going to be nan as usual. I guess this is what the question asked. And data that will be shown here is going to be suffix, undefined prefix, and nan. All right. Suffix, undefined prefix, and nan. Yes, all right. So any issues in this question?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. What is the next question?
So clicking would have given some other thing.
Yes, clicking in that case.
Then in
yeah,
that
correct.
case,
And undefined would not be there in that case. It would
correct.
probably be replaced by nptel. So the next question is itself 155. If I'm reading it correct. Yes, it is. So what is happening in this question is you create a promise constructor. This is a function, and then you create one async function. And what you do is you simply click on this test button. What will be logged onto the console in value t format, where t represents the approximate time in seconds from the start of the execution of the program, and value represents the output value logged to the console. For example, if 2 is logged onto the console after 5 seconds, answer is 2. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are calling test function. Test is an async function. That means we can use await keyword inside this function implementation. The very first line is getting executed. So we encountered this await keyword, JavaScript engine found it. And what it does is it simply stops before executing the next statement because the first statement needs to be executed. Now, whenever it found await, what it is going to do is it is not going to move forward, but what it is going to do is it is going to go back to the call stack and see if there is any synchronous code that can be executed meanwhile. So what it finds is that this console.log4 is basically a synchronous code that can be immediately executed. So the very first value that will be shown on the console is going to be 4, and the minimum time that is going to be taken in order to log this value would be 0 seconds, because this will be done immediately. Now, once 4 is printed, what will happen is, again, it will try to execute this promise constructor. So promise constructor is basically a function. You are passing a value 1 to it. What does this do is, this basically creates a timeout of 1 into 1000 milliseconds. That means 1 second. And finally, what it returns is, the function resolves with the value t itself. So that means it is going to resolve with 1 value. So x1 is going to get 1. Okay. So x1 has gotten 1. Now, what will be shown on the console is 2. After 4, what will be shown onto the console is 2. But what will be the time taken to print 2? Can someone answer? What will be the delay cost?
1 second.
1 second.
It will be 1 second. So 4, 0, 2, 1. Next time, this statement would be executed. This time we are calling it with a parameter or a value of 3. So it is going to create a timeout of 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, it is going to return that value 3. So x2 will get the value 3. And it is going to print the values x1 and x2. So x1 got the value 1, x2 got the value 3. But what will be the time taken for both of these values to be shown? Can someone answer?
4 seconds.
It will be 4 seconds. See, because the question says that we need to consider the time in seconds from the start of the execution. So 1 second has already elapsed here, and we are waiting for 3 more seconds in this statement, for this statement. So 4, 0, 2, 1, and then it is going to be 1, 4, and x2 is going to be 3, 4. So 4, 0, 2, 1, 1, 4, 3, 4. All right, yeah, that's correct. So any issues in this question?
So here we are calling test function, which is kind of running in a separate thread, and console.log4 is running in a separate thread. That is why this is getting printed first at the same instant.
See, JavaScript it's itself a single-threaded language. So running it on a separate thread is what I'm not able to understand. If you have some web API component, so that is a different thing that comes from the browser.
Okay, so when test function is being called and it is being awaited for this promise constructor, then even though it is a single thread, but then because the current work is pending, it is looking for some other pending work. That is how it is happening.
Yes, it is going to look for any synchronous code that can be executed immediately. If it finds it, then it is going to execute that. If it does not find, it will just wait for that to complete its execution. Okay, so I guess this was the list that was given in the beginning of
Sir,
the
could you
session.
explain this question once again, please? I'm not able to quite understand it.
Okay. So see, I hope at least you are clear with the concept of async and await.
Yes, sir.
Right? So what await does is it prevents the control to move forward within the same function until and unless the current statement has finished its execution. So that means until and unless this complete statement has finished its execution, the second statement, that is this console.log, will not be executed. Similarly, for this
Right, sir.
statement, if this complete statement has not produced the result that is needed, the console.log is not going to be executed. But remember, I'm saying within the current function definition. So this only applies for this block. That means between these two curly braces. Meanwhile, it is executing this thing. That is, it has pushed it to set timeout and it is being executed. Meanwhile, it is going to look for some synchronous code that is available in the program. So now what it is going to do is it is going to go back into the call stack. It will see that I called the test function. So after test function, is there anything that can be executed immediately? So it basically it saw that there is one console.log statement that is a synchronous operation and does not require for me to wait anymore. So what will it do is it will wait for it. Okay, it is executing. Let us wait for it. But meanwhile, it is going to execute all of the synchronous code. If there would have been 10 console.log statements, it would have executed those 10 statements first, and after that, it would have gone here at this place. So the very first thing that would be executed in this program would be console.log statement. That is a synchronous operation or a synchronous statement. After that, it is going to wait for this promise to yield its result because it cannot move to the second statement. The reason is we are using await keyword. So await is preventing the control from moving to the next statement until the current statement finishes its execution. Are you getting this point? Are you getting it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so this was the list that was given in the beginning of this session. Is there anything else?
Sir, if we remove await, still the numbers will be 4213.
If we remove await.
Yeah. Both await if they removed.
No, the output can change in that case. Because the X1, what is getting is it is basically a promise. So it is going to show promise, pending promise.
Whatever the promise out object will be received, that will be shown at the place of X1.
Yes.
And that 2, sir, that 2 will come after 4, because that is also
2 is
synchronous one.
Okay, if you remove this await from here. Yeah, all right. Yes, 2 is always going to come after 4. Yeah.
Yes. 4-2 object of promise object of X1.
But sir, 2 is inside the async function test, right?
Yeah.
Then 2 should print after 4.
2 should print after 4. Sorry, can you just repeat once again?
Like I'm asking that the console.log 2, suppose await is removed and console.log 2 is inside the async function test.
Okay.
then what will be printed
Okay,
first?
okay. So you're saying if you remove this await keyword completely from here,
Yes.
then I guess 2 will be shown first. 4 will be shown at last. So in that case,
But
the
why,
output should
sir?
be 2, promise, and 4.
But why? Because console.log 4, that is a synchronous code.
Yeah, synchronous code. But we discussed
So
that await is preventing the code, basically the next code to be executed. If await is not there, that means there is no restriction. This statement, the second statement can be executed even before the first statement is.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir, got it.
All right.
So if we remove await keyword, then can we predict the output, or it can be anything? I mean, in any order.
If you remove await, then I guess this 4 will be shown at last, because it will try to execute this function in a synchronous manner. And after that only it will move to this console.log 4.
Okay, sir. So in that case, it will be like no, it will not be await, so it will be a set time. So it will be 2 0, then 1 1.
No,
Then
wait.
again,
You are trying to, I guess, map this question with the previous question. You are not asked about the timings in this. Okay, you are asked about it. All right. Okay, in that case, well, everything is going to be 0 in that case. Nothing is going to take any time.
no, but we have t into 1000 milliseconds, sir.
Yeah, that is
In
a
the function.
promise. That will be executed in the backend, in the background. It is not going to impact on the values because they have already been shown.
Okay.
Sir, what is the difference between mount and shallow mount?
Sorry.
Mounted and shallow mounted. What is the difference between that two?
I
Life
guess
cycle.
shallow mount is something that you use in a different context. Mounted is of course a life cycle hook, but shallow mount is generally used when we test our applications. So what it does is
Yes.
it basically creates a virtual kind of DOM structure for us to be tested, so that it does not directly affect the main one.
So within shallow mount, if I pass any name or any variable name, that will be by that it will be handled. That virtual DOM will be handled. It will be that virtual DOM object name. If I write shallow mount, say XYZ in bracket.
Okay.
So will that mean that virtual DOM created will be identified by that label XYZ?
I don't know what does the constructor accept. I need to read the definition of it.
Okay, sir. And when we check for error, we write testing and error conditions. That time we write for the error to become true, or its opposite, means what?
So, well, again, this depends if you are checking for a specific class or ID to be present. So you need to put the conditions accordingly. For example, you say that you expect the class to be present.
Okay.
So
So
let's
what
say,
I write in that expect statement, that will matter.
yes.
Yes. Okay. Sir, one last thing. Can you please just tell wait at what time the promise object is printed and what time the output is printed? Means how to get that idea.
See,
I get confusion with that. Means when promise object will be printed, that creates little bit confusion.
let me just do one thing. Create one. I guess I cannot copy this code. It's an image. Yes, I'll just try to write something. So create something similar. This function. that what it does is it simply puts
Set timeout.
that timeout itself takes a callback. What that callback does
Resolve T.
is also
T into 1.
is given here after waiting for.
1000.
And now what I'm doing here is, let's say I'm creating one variable like a equals to some two, and after that say console.log a. In that case, we can say that what is going to be shown in place of a is, it is basically a pending promise. What happened? An unexpected token. Are you missing anything? Oh, okay. Be a part of it. All right. So here, what we are getting is we are getting a pending promise. So what would be happening in the background now is that this promise would be, I guess, executing. So after 1 second, you will be able to find its output. Okay. So if you print it as it is, in a synchronous manner, then you are always going to get this pending promise. Now, how you can basically avoid it? If you use set of then blocks. Now, what you do is you say a.then, and you just try to print this console.log. I'm commenting this date. So what it is going to do is, it is not going to print the value as it is. It is going to wait for the promise to resolve, and after that, whatever data it resolves with, it is going to be shown on the console. So right now, the output will be shown after waiting for 1 second. So after waiting for 1 second, you got the value 2.
Okay.
This time you did not get that pending promise value.
So without dot then, I will be always getting a promise object, provided the execution time finishes. Means set time of definition will get over, then only it will give me the value. And if I don't write set timeout value, then it will immediately print in that case as well.
No,
Is it?
no. It is going to be an promise is always going to be an asynchronous operation. So even if you do it like this, it should show you the pending promise. What happened? Okay. So see, it is showing you the promise object only, but this time the promise is not in the pending state.
That is what.
But it is still resulting you the promise object only.
Yeah, it will be promise object with whatever the value is there.
If it gets resolved by that time, yeah, it will give you that value. If it does not, then it is going to show you pending because that is still processing.
Okay.
And if you want to just get its result, then you can use then, or you can go with await.
Okay.
But await can only be used inside functions which are defined as, or which are initialized as async.
Async, correct. Clear, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. So today is 3rd of August. When is your exam?
So that is on Sunday.
Sunday. So it is 5.
7th.
Okay, 7th of August.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Sir, one last question regarding that. The last question we discussed.
Yes.
It is the time is 4 because the function has to wait for both the promises to get resolved, correct?
Can you repeat, please?
The time for 1 and 3 is 4 because the function has to wait for both of the statements to complete, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Well, by the way, how many of you are planning to submit your project early?
Sir, I just wanted
the project submission link is already open.
Sir, I wanted to know, I have chosen a late slot. In case if I finish earlier, can I change my slot? Is it possible?
Not getting your point. You have chosen an early slot.
I have chosen a last slot for the submission of project.
Okay, that means you are saying you are going to submit
September end.
the last week of September.
September, huh? But if I'm able to finish it before, say by 10th of the August, will I be able to submit it?
Okay. So you are talking about that form where you were supposed to.
That form was asking that when you are going to submit that.
That is
form
just
was
for us to
circulated.
get a raw idea that how many submissions we are going to get in which week. So yes, that is not something you need to be certain of. You can submit early or later, whatever situation.
Sir, even after exam, this course will be open for the doubt regarding project if we face any.
Yes. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but there is already a separate course created on Discord, especially for the project. The name is Project for Mat 2, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that is a different thread. Yes.
It's a different course.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so if you have any project relevant queries, you should post it in the Project for Mat 2 course.
Yes, sir, sure.
So just like Modern Application 2 or Mat 2, there is one more course as such.
Fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. What about others? When are you planning to submit your projects?
Middle of September, sir.
Sir, sometime around August end.
Okay. So that means there is no one who is submitting in the first week, at least from the set of people we have in this call.
No, sir. For me, it is also like last of August, I think.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine. You can take as much as time as you want. Deadline, the actual deadline is basically 30th of September, but those who submit early, they can get their vivas done as early as possible and can focus on other things. That's the incentive that they are basically getting for submitting early.
Sir, by when can we expect vivas?
That depends on when you are submitting your project. So what we have decided is that we are going to process the submissions on a weekly basis. So for the first week is going to be from 1st of August to 7th of August. So on 8th of August, we are going to take out all of the submissions that were submitted in that time frame from 1st to 7th. And we'll start processing those submissions. That means we'll validate which of those submissions are valid. We'll run them through the plagiarism checker. And after that, we'll conduct their level 1 vivas. So are you talking about level 1 vivas or level 2 vivas?
Sir, level 2 vivas.
So I expect that the level 1 viva could happen anytime within 2 weeks when you submit your project. And the level 2 viva, well, it basically depends on the number of submissions we have received during that particular week. If there are many people have submitted in that particular week, then of course it may take some time for us to schedule all of those vivas. But if there are very few submissions, then it should be done within a month.
Okay, sir.
Sir,
So it can
you-
spill over to October also if someone
Sorry?
is submitting in September. So if someone is submitting in September, then final viva could happen in October.
Yes, correct. Yeah, if someone is submitting in the last week of September, of course, the level 1 viva itself is going to happen in October.
And sir, can you give some idea about like what type of questions might be asked in the viva?
Hey, you all are coming from Mad 1, right? You would have seen one set of vivas already.
Okay, so related to project.
Yes.
And general viva.
Mad one, there was only one viva.
Yeah, so don't worry about level 1 viva at all. There, we are just going to validate what you have submitted in the checklist form. If we have asked you to implement feature A, we are just going to check whether you have implemented it at all or not. Okay. If what you have specified in the checklist, that the final project details Google form that is available along with the project submission link. If you are able to get 70%, I guess that's the criteria for you to clear the level 1. If you are able to get 70% out of that checklist, that's fine. Level 1 viva is just a formality in that case.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay. So someone is going to submit in the next term means you are going to do the next term project.
No, like September will be next term. But September, in the submitting in the month of September will be for current term only, correct?
Yes, of course. Okay, so I guess Utkarsh is willing to do the project of the next term, maybe due to some time constraints and all. Yeah, so that is also possible because now the project is itself separated out from the theory course. So it basically depends on you when you want to pursue it.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, interim paper will be like quiz 1 or quiz 2, means will it have theory questions?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
quiz 2 was having plenty of theory questions.
Is it? I did not realize that.
They are with close to 5-6 theory questions in quiz 2.
5, 6. So you get a total number of 16 questions. Yeah, you are definitely going to get theory questions, of course.
Okay, sir.
Don't let you miss out getting those questions.
So
But,
those theory questions will be from the lecture PPT's content, or we need to be prepared from outside also?
theory questions are going to be based on the concepts that are taught. Of course, that specific option or that specific question might not have been mentioned in the slides or PPT as it is. But if you're aware of the concept, I don't think there should be any trouble for you to answering that question. The way I used to think that the theory questions could be answered very quickly because you don't need to read a whole lot of code in order to answer the question. Okay, all right. So I guess we have discussed what we wanted to this session. So, okay, I wish you all the best for your upcoming NSEM exam on 7th of August. Please let us know in case you are having any issues in understanding any concept. Please remember that our separate course for project has been created on this course. So if you have theory-based questions or the questions related to the course, the theory course in general, so you can post it in the relevant course. For project, you can post it in the separate course. Of course, we would be available on the Discord as well for helping you. Yeah, so just let us know in case you need any help. Once again, I wish you all the best for your exam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.